if I'm a far better comedian than I am a rapper, like, then, yeah, if I make traction as a comedian, then most likely, like, my rapping is not going to get as much of a look.
You are now listening to the Music Business Streams podcast, brought to you by KDMR Music.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Music Business Dreams podcast, episode 18. I'm your host, Brandon, and I'm just super thankful to have you listening today. So, welcome. Now, if you're listening to this on release day, it is Halloween. So please, wherever you are, be safe tonight. If you're taking someone trick-or-treating, be careful, check the candy and all that. I found a loaded gun in my candy last year. So just be careful with that. But no, in all seriousness, hope you guys have a great time tonight. Be safe. Don't drink and drive. Whatever you do, do it safely. Cautiously. I don't know. So anyway, you heard a little bit just a second ago from today's guest, Brandman Sean. And he's a really cool guy. He's been doing music marketing stuff on YouTube for a while. And so I'm really excited about bringing you the conversation that we had. Before I do that, if you are not subscribed to the show, hit that subscribe button. If you aren't following us on social media, we are everywhere at KDMR Music. And of course, you should join the Indie Club if you're not already a member. That's where you get unlimited access to me, as well as all sorts of other music industry professionals and aspiring artists just like you. So you can have your questions answered and, stop guessing whether or not you're doing things right in your music career. So now that all those announcements and particulars are out of the way, let's get into today's interview. Now, our next guest really doesn't need an introduction, but it's my job, so I'm going to do it anyway. So if you're on YouTube and you're searching for ways to make your music career pop, then you've probably seen one of this guy's videos. He's got like 45,000 subscribers. He's the founder of the Adventure ATL Fest, and he's just known for his love of sharing knowledge with artists and upcoming music industry professionals that need it the most. So I'm pleased, honored, proud to welcome today's guest, Brandman Sean Taylor.
What's up, Brandon? How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How about you?
I'm great, man. I'm glad to be on. It's funny your name is Brandon because a lot of people mistake Brandman for Brandon. People send me messages saying Brandon all day.
That's funny. That's wild. But yeah, man. Well, I've been a fan of what you've been doing for a little while now. But for those who don't know, why don't you introduce yourself and let the audience know what you do?
So I'm a digital marketer. I market a ton of things, but a lot of people know me as my music marketing and branding page, Brandman Sean, that persona online, primarily in the music industry. However, I do a host of things. I have a festival, music festival that I started. Does over 1,000 people, 3 years strong. I have some ebooks, things of that nature, and I also work in the technology space. But music marketing and branding is the bread and butter that people know me for on YouTube.
Okay, cool. And so, what kind of got you started and focused on marketing for entertainment?
My entertainment marketing started when I started doing events with friends. Well, really, I was helping my friends market their events. And then out of that, I started saying, hey, well, let's try this event. This would be cool to do. And then you're working with a lot of artists. These were like more party type events, right? And we would have artists at the events. And then it naturally just flowed into that. My brother's also in the music industry, but I don't know if that played any part of that. Probably did, but he didn't ever help me out in any kind of way.
Cool. Well, that's what's up. So you started throwing events for friends, and obviously something caught on, or some kind of bug bit you. What was it about what you were doing that really captivated your interest and encouraged you to keep going with it?
It's just what I like to do, man. I started off in college and stuff computer science, computer information systems. My brother and sister, which are both older than me, they do marketing. So I guess that was already in me. I would market my own entrepreneurial stuff, but I never saw myself as a marketer. When I started working with the artists and the events, I really got that business to consumer side of marketing that I don't know. I like the thought process behind it. I like the psychology. I like building a brand. That's the biggest part that I like about it the most. Building a brand that people resonate with.
Gotcha. And so, with that being said, let's dive right in. What do you feel like makes an effective brand?
An effective brand at its foundation is just something that somebody can relate to. Of course, that effectiveness is going to vary depending on who the people are. All right, you might find one brand more effective than I find a brand, but at the core, it is just that relationship. There has to be some sort of relationship between the audience and whatever the core brand is, whether it's a company or artist, and whether that relationship is fear, hate, love, desire, whatever that is, but it needs to be a connection there emotionally.
Right. Definitely. That's what's up. And I tell people all the time when we talk about like the music fan journey, and you talk about having 1,000 true fans and having super fans and stuff like that. The people who are really like your diehards aren't your diehards because you made a good song. It's because you did something that they could relate with, right? Like the example I use is Kanye. When I was in middle school and Kanye came out, like he dressed like I dressed. He talked about stuff that I was interested in, and he wasn't wearing a bulletproof vest, right? And so, that immediately helped him to stand out in my mind. And I could like go to my mom like, hey, can we go to this guy's concert? When she was like, yo, I'm not having anything to do with hip hop and people shooting people and all that. I could say, well, there's this guy, right?
Definitely. You think your mom would take you to a Kanye concert now?
Nah. Nah. What's funny, but my first concert was the Confessions tour, the Usher Confessions tour, and Kanye was the opening act, and my mom took me, and that was my first concert experience, and that I was such a huge Kanye fan back then.
It had to be a good show.
It was dope. Like Kanye was the opener, but John Legend was like the super opener that no one knew at the time.
Dang.
And it was cool. Like looking back on it now, because John Legend performed Ordinary People and like a few people clapped, but it wasn't really all that. But like to see like how a year later that song became the thing, and then like after that Kanye was like out of here. So
man, that's super dope, man. You got some history, and I know it was an Usher concert, so there was plenty of women around.
There was plenty of women around. Now I was like 13, so, but nah, it definitely catered to an Usher crowd. I remember like telling my friends I was going to this concert, and I was like, I'm going to the Kanye concert. I didn't even mention Usher. But yeah, so I mean, I think you're right in that an effective brand is something that people relate to. There's something that stands out. And, what I tell people is your brand is what you consistently do and what people know you for. Like if I say, hey, who's Brandman Sean? And they're like, oh yeah, that dude from YouTube that does like the music stuff, right? Like
that's
exactly. So that means you've done a good job of establishing yourself as a music authority, or a bad job if you were trying to establish yourself in some other realm.
Exactly. True story, man. I always say that a brand is not established overnight. It can't be. Brand is your reputation built over time. Mm-hmm. Simple as that.
Dope. Now, I know on your YouTube channel you do a lot of dissecting artists like come-ups. And like I know just recently I saw where you did a video about Doja Cat and how her viral success was really the result of having fans first. But I wanted to ask you, like, who you felt an artist was, like when you decided to go sit down and do your research about them, that really surprised you about their come up and their journey to success?
Ooh. I would say Ironically enough, just off the top of my head, it would be Fetty Wap, and that was literally my very first video.
Mm.
It was just the fact that grind and how it was so simple and straightforward from a marketing standpoint, what he did as far as working his song in a very targeted area, multifaceted, the omnipresence, and then how it slowly built out from there. And then, Northeast, there's a lot of people packed up against each other, so you can get a lot of plays within a concentrated area within a reasonable amount of time if it's worked right without having to leave. Like, some play areas to get a certain amount of plays and clout, you really have to leave that area. But New York, Northeast Coast is big enough for that. So the way he started in Jersey, moved across the bridge after the given amount of time to New York, and then maybe 8 months in is when it really started to move across the country. Obviously, certain things happened business-wise along that. It was just a beauty to see from a marketing standpoint because it's really what happened. And I was happy to be able to communicate that to other people because as artists, they get sold this dream and it's everywhere, all out of nowhere, right? You're nowhere and then next thing you know, you're everywhere. But there's so much in between and people are seeing it more and more these days, but still people are so much within their bubbles. Like if I listen to this artist and I listen to this artist all the time, and I got them on my playlist, and I'm Google searching them. So then Google is also feeding me cookies related to them, and Instagram is feeding me cookies related to this artist. That artist seems everywhere to me, so it doesn't seem like that. I'm still missing the gradual build, right? This isn't that, especially back in the day where I go visit my homegirl or my cousin in another state, and this song is popping, and I come back to Georgia or Florida, wherever I'm from, and be like, yo, man, they got this nice song that they listen to over there, this dope artist, and nobody else where I'm from has ever heard of them before, right? That period is far shorter at this time, and the lines are a little bit more blurred because of this whole internet and globalization. Everybody's discovering people from various places at one time, so it prevents that experience, and you don't see it the same. So artists just feel like, they don't understand the gradual process. So that video is why I really, I was surprised to see it so clearly, and the fact that he was pretty much aware of it, working that one song for, I don't know, like a year and a half. And then also, obviously, I was happy to communicate it as well.
That's what's up, man. So I wanna take a step back and kind of talk about your journey into YouTube and what you're doing now, among other things. Because I know you were excited about, working with different brands and stuff like that, or helping artists to build their brand. But what made you decide to give your advice to just everyone on the internet?
For the most part, I wasn't too interested in getting paid for advice, particularly in the beginning. I was just doing it for fun. I had some homies that could use the information. They're artists. I'm around artists on various levels, just at random times. So I was privy to some information, but then just being a marketing mind, I already have it. Yeah, just in terms of sharing it, though, I didn't really put too much thought into it. I was like, you know what, I'm going to do maybe, I think it was 10 videos. And then after these 10 videos, we'll see what happens. I didn't know if I was going to start a channel and keep doing it, but I was just kind of intrigued for whatever period to just do. So I was going to do one advice, and then I said I would do 10 more. And yeah, it's just kind of random, honestly. I've written a book before. Every once in a while, just something just catches my mind, and I have to get it out, whether it's through writing an article, writing a book, or just researching and talking with somebody or doing my own event. I'll just do random projects like that every once in a while. And this honestly started like that. I only kept doing it because one dude, it's literally that one fan story. One dude started bigging me up in video number 8. I was like, yo, keep this up, man. And I'm going to share your video on Reddit and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I'll just keep making some videos for him. I believe the subscriber name was Kayola, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I was like, I'm gonna keep going from there. And I was only getting like 50 views at the time. 50, maybe 100 might have been my max.
Right. And so I know you said you got that motivation from that one fan, but I know for a lot of people that I've talked to, YouTube is such a slow grind. And I started my YouTube channel recently. I really just started taking it seriously like maybe 6 months ago before I started this podcast. And I just had a video that I did about the Music Modernization Act. It ended up like ranking #1. So it's got like 7,000 views over the last week since Donald Trump signed the bill. But before that, like you were saying, most videos will get like 50, maybe 100 views. What was it that kept you going when all your videos were getting that kind of engagement?
One, so it's two parts. Once I decided that I was going to keep doing it, I committed myself to a year. Just how I said I was going to do 2 videos. The way I overcome like laziness oftentimes or fear, things like that, I had to set a period of time that I'm going to commit to it. And then I allow myself to come up versus making myself vulnerable to quitting too early or something like that. So I said I'll give myself 1 year posting at least, I can't remember how many videos I said I would post a week, maybe like 2, I think, 2 minimum a week. So that was one thing that kept me in it, because I was going to do it to the end of that year no matter what. And I think my goal then was if I have 1,000 subscribers, then I'll keep doing it. Wasn't sure if I would hit 1,000, but even if I didn't, I might have kept doing it. I'm not sure that I ended up exceeding 1,000, but that was my thing. That's kind of my own personal method that I typically do. I'll commit a certain amount of time to kind of to get over laziness, quitting too early, and just all the excuses we kind of tend to come up with. And just one more thing though. Oh, and the other thing though was just the fact that I'm personally interested. Like that's basically what I'm doing already. Like I think I see connections all the time. I don't always get to discuss it with people. That was my way to do that.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, that was the thing that kind of made me take mine seriously as well. Because, I wrote a book about music marketing, and I've got that available. I'm building out a program for people to take online. But what I noticed was when I stopped doing the videos, I had like a little initial run. I stopped doing them. And I started going out to shows and people were like recognizing me and they're like, yo, I got this question, this question, this question. And you start to realize people are asking you all the same questions over and over again. So then it's like, all right, let me just do a video about this so that the next person that asks me, I can just be like, look, here's a link. Call me if you have a different question.
I was doing that out the ass, man. I literally, if you look at my YouTube page, it's on the main channel page, that is, it's pretty damn organized, man. I have growth music marketing. I have women in music. I have a whole playlist that's geared towards mystery. I have a whole playlist geared towards producers. So it's like, hey, watch, before this conversation continues any further, watch this playlist right here, man. Like you're talking about mystery branding. You're talking about branding in general. Here's my creative, unique branding image page. Like I've literally built it like that over time, just so I could save myself time but still help people out like that.
Exactly. Because you start doing consultations and stuff, and it's like everybody's like, okay, so how do I get my music on iTunes? And it's like, okay, really? Like you're paying me to talk to you about this right now?
Yeah.
And so you feel like you're cheating people. Like, look, all right, so from now on, here's my YouTube channel. Like, go here. And if you have questions about something I don't cover there, then, I'll feel better about, you paying me for my time and we'll talk about it. Or if you have like individual questions, then we can go through that, But I didn't start doing this to get over on people. Like, I'm not going to charge you $100 to tell you, what TuneCore is. Like, that should be common knowledge.
Exactly. I send other people's videos. If I happen to run across a good video or a good source of stuff, like I send people to, like, or I may be talking to a producer, say, hey, yo, you ever heard of Curtis King, man? Like, honestly, the last thing I want to do is talk to people. Like, that's just kind of my personality. So,
Cool, cool. So I want to talk about, and this is kind of twofold because I know a lot of people are trying to get into YouTube. And then there's a lot of also my audience is artists that are trying to get into the industry or trying to make more money. So for the people who are like aspiring YouTubers, I wanted you to talk about like different strategies to grow your channel.
Okay. A YouTuber in general, or we're talking about a specific, like just an artist?
Well,
Give me kind of some boundaries to work within first.
Yeah, so there's two people on that I have in mind. One is does like beat making and like tutorial type videos, and then another is just an artist trying to build up their like BeatStars account, doing the type beats and stuff. And so that's who I had in mind when I was asking the question.
All right. So first one, you said a beat maker, but also doing self-help tutorials, right?
Right.
All right. So this person, I would still tell to do some type beats just to start off. When we're at ground zero, you just want to make yourself searchable as possible. Mm-hmm. So getting yourself into that SEO, that works. Like do some beats like that, especially if you're already doing it. I wouldn't, go ahead and do something like that if you don't already have a name to bring to yourself and bring people. And then also self-help, exact same thing, right? We're going to touch on topics that people are already searching. And when you touch on those topics that people are already searching, in the same way it works with a type beat, slowly people will start to drizzle down into your page, discover you. It does take time. Eventually one of them will start to move, just like you had your video that did 7K. And not only that, you can also do like the general self-help stuff, because those are always going to be things that people are looking at. But then you can capitalize here and there on something that's a little bit more current or a little bit more trendy or a little bit more sensational, just to bring people in. All right. Mm-hmm. I have videos. I don't really get heavily into it, but I have my versions of Doja Cat's Moo, right? I cover a lot of stuff that's pretty straightforward. Only artists will be interested in it. Only very serious artists or managers or producers, PR people will be interested in it. But then I'll touch on some stuff that just fans would like in general. So those same people will be interested, but fans will like it. So that's going to give me more visibility, because, there might only be 3,000 people who are into the niche of music business out there, just making up a number, but there's a million fans. So that video might do 50,000. Next thing you know, they tell their friend about some of their friends who are in the music space, and they should check me out. And every once in a while, they continue to stay tuned into the channel because I'll have subjects like that every once in a while. But that's like the building the audience thing, right? And you add over time, when you are building your audience, the bigger your audience is. When you do videos like that are a little bit more sensational, in whichever way, you increase the chance of virality, particularly happening quicker. So I definitely encourage doing that system of SEO-driven content, whether that's a type beat, whether that's some straight-up self-help, and then also popping up every once in a while with some content that's a little bit more sensational, remarkable, which means, worth remarking about. I don't know if you read Purple Cow, but Seth Godin goes deep into the whole remarkable thing. That's really the skeleton for the internet, period, just being remarkable in terms of content. But yeah, like those basic things are really it. Over time, it creates its own marketing funnel, right? What that looks like is if I have a video that does 100,000, but these people who see it are not necessarily all fans, the amount that are fans, that aren't necessarily all like my niche. The amount that are my niche might be half of that number, right? And then out of half of that number, maybe a quarter discover the other videos on my channel, and then a portion of that, becomes subscribers, right? They find themselves. That's why I tell artists there's nothing wrong with doing covers at all. Like covers, that goes into that remarkable or SEO driven. It's something that'll bring attention to your stuff, but when you have other stuff on your page that's original and they actually like it, then the people who actually like it, they'll become fans and it'll filter out. Like you just have to realize that some people are fans for different things. And then when the people you push to other platforms that might be 100% just your music, then you know everybody there is there for you and you completely. But people we have this image of the person who's doing covers can't be successful or they don't discover real fans. But a lot of times, my personal opinion is artists use their lack of ability to create real fans out of people who find them through other people's music as an excuse, or because a lot of times the music they have that's original just isn't good enough, to be frank, right? But you've seen it again and again on so many levels. This happened too many times where people have been able to convert from cover artists to real artists to say that it's not possible. Right. Like it just happened too much.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Well, that's what's up, man. Yeah, SEO is definitely largely important. I think we overlook it as artists because, most people aren't going to just, happen to search for your name, right? And let's say you are based in Atlanta, right? How many people are going to search new hip hop artists from Atlanta on Google? So we kind of take that mindset and just say, all right, well, SEO, it works for other people, but it's not going to work for me as a music artist. But when you talk about YouTube is still very much SEO driven. Like when I had that video that did kind of go viral, like it was 30% of the traffic from that video was just people searching. And then the other 60% or another 60% was just suggested videos because people were searching and clicking on the video.
Exactly.
So YouTube is so search driven. So if you're an artist out there trying to, and again, I think this works a little bit better if you're more of like a service based artist where, you're making beats for people and things like that. You're selling a product. You're not necessarily selling yourself at first. And I think that's when SEO is really, really important and really comes into play.
Yeah. I mean, it even works it depends on the artist's brand. That's when it becomes a little trickier because you never know if they want to be super mysterious or jovial or whatever. But, I mean, you have the artists who are becoming YouTubers with all the, stupid challenges and stuff like that and crossing over in that way. They start one way and slowly drop their music. There's a lot of different ways that people are getting it. It's really just a matter of getting the attention. I just think the beauty of SEO-driven content to bring people in is don't think of it as much as, oh man, this is how I'm presenting myself. It's really just free marketing, like that organic marketing. You're bringing people in to look at you. That's what I think is the most beautiful part about it versus doing an ad, and the ad might not work because most people really are just not good at ads. We tell a lot of people to do Facebook ads without the education on really what that looks like and the amount of money that it really takes to have a real return, retargeting and tracking and all that stuff. Like people just want to add. I was talking to a dude the other day, $2, and was trying to tell me about like his results and act and make real decisions off the fact he just spent $2 on an ad. Like, no, bro, it's gonna take more than that. Like that's limited data.
Right. And so I think that's a great segue into my next question. I was kind of trying to decide how I was going to ask you these questions. And I think, what I want to focus on is misconceptions that you feel artists may have about the marketing and branding process. Like, what are the things that you hear the most often that couldn't be further from the truth?
Let me see. From a branding standpoint, I I can't start as X if I want to become an artist. All right. I don't want to do comedy if I already have this knack or attraction as a comedian and become an artist. I don't want to be a YouTuber or cover artist or whatever X is. But once again, that's not how branding works. It's just you can always rebrand. Typically, if you are not able to overcome your images of what you were prior, is because you didn't produce something that was of greater quality than the quality you did in your prior field, right? It's like Will Smith was able to overcome the hip hop artist thing because what he did as an actor was far greater than what he did as an artist, particularly over time. Like, time helps as well. But Cardi B was a stripper. Yeah, people start, like, they'll throw the stigma on her every once in a while, but people very much so see her for what she is today. And she was like 2 or 3 things in between that, right? The girl on IG who was just funny, and the girl who was also on Love and Hip Hop. Rapper, she started rapping. She was rapping 2-3 years. Her stuff was solid. I was listening to her back then just to check in, but it wasn't like nothing that I was really gonna replay like that. But then once that Bodak Yellow hit, I mean, it was like undeniable, far exceeding anything she did in any field, right?
Right.
That's just how it goes. So many examples. We've seen so many of the stars we know like come from somewhere else and what they started. So that's the biggest misconception, and I think sometimes it's rooted in fear. To just get started, but once you get attention, you can transfer that attention to however you want to. But once again, if I'm a far better comedian than I am a rapper, like, then yeah, if I make traction as a comedian, then most likely, like, my rapping is not going to get as much of a look. I might have a song one day that just pops. Think about like Lil Duval, right? Like that's a different scenario. But generally speaking, my rap career probably won't overshadow the thing that I'm far better at. Unless I just happen to not give it attention in the first place, only start as a rapper. But then that gets into a bigger conversation about potential and whatnot. That's not necessary here. But yeah, that's the most common thing that I hear. Yeah.
Got you. And so what mistakes do you feel like artists make the most often when it comes to rolling out campaigns or not rolling out campaigns for their music?
The biggest mistake that I think artists make when it comes to rolling out campaigns is, one, not understanding what a campaign is. Like, a campaign can't be a post, right? Like, a campaign isn't really 2 posts. It needs to be planned out over time. Give it some time, even if it's only for 2 weeks, but just give it an amount of time, and then also have an investment set aside for your campaign. The amount of money varies. $2,000 is a nice amount. Like, that's a solid amount for anybody. But, some people can do different with $700, whatever. But just having that time and having multiple assets for your campaign, as opposed to continually pushing the same image with the song in the background, all right, and trying to get it on different platforms, just so people can get it from different angles. That's pretty much how I'll sum it up. So, one, giving it the time, right, and not just doing like one post. So like the time, the variety of content, and actually having the investment to put behind it. And for a bonus, I would say multiple channels with a real strategy, because you find a lot of artists, what they'll do is will promote and go hard, or you tell somebody to do high volume posting, right? Because Instagram's algorithm helps that. But if I'm posting a lot of pictures on my page and it has 400 followers, it's not necessarily going to increase if I'm not doing any hashtags not even like a method I recommend, but like I'm not doing any hashtags, I'm not doing any promo. For some reason, some people have thought that'll actually, I don't know, increase their audience. It's like you have to still go to other channels to bring in attention and let it all snowball eventually until your channel can sustain itself.
Right, right. Now, just to follow up on that, why do you not recommend hashtags as a strategy on Instagram?
So I'll take that back. I don't not recommend it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't recommend it when I say, all right, this is how you're going to grow. Do it.
Right.
But that's just not a primary like growth strategy that I would recommend to have high expectations over.
Right. Yeah, and with my experience in hashtags or artists that I know using hashtags as a way to bring people in, like it might help for engagement on a post, right? Like hashtags might get you likes, but as far as I can tell, they're not like a really great strategy for significant or sustained long-term growth, because it's like people are stumbling on your post. They might like it. They might follow your page, right? And then what typically happens is you post again and they're like, oh, wait, why am I following you? And so then you'll see your follower count just go right back to where it was before you started to begin with.
Exactly. That I honestly I really don't tell people to pay too much attention to the following. You want to see growth, but when you pay attention to it at a minor scale and you're like, okay, I just got +2 followers and now I got -3 followers and now I got +5, now I got -6. Like, I mean, that's more important if you're really doing some kind of campaign and you're like, all right, what's happening to this campaign? Is it not quality? But just generally speaking on a day-to-day basis, like you can't get caught up into watching it so much because there's going to be people who find you and then they leave. You might notice the numbers. I'll notice the numbers on my pages sometimes, but like you still have to remember and not take it personal and don't get caught up into no follow for follow stuff. Like I'll not follow somebody who asks me to follow them. It's not like I was necessarily going to follow them anyway, but if someone just hits me up and says follow for follow or something like that, and I still get it on YouTube pages, no, it's why. It doesn't make sense because all of my followers are only going to be following me dependent on me following them. Right. That means neither one of us are following each other for the value that they can provide each other outside of a superficial number that doesn't really bring us true value.
Right. Right. And I think that's something that artists, don't do in general is, provide consistent value. A lot of people are looking at numbers. A lot of people I did last week's podcast episode was about scams in the business and how people can avoid them. And a big part of it was just changing that mindset around metrics and like thinking, okay, I need to have 10,000 likes on Facebook or whatever, right? Because when you're focused on the product that you're putting out and the experience that you're giving to your fans, right? You don't have time to worry about, okay, do I have this number? And you're not as susceptible when someone says, hey, by the way, I can get you 8,000 fans on Facebook or I can get you 10,000 Spotify plays if you pay me.
Yeah.
I think we focus so much, especially in hip hop, on like these numbers because, I don't know, that's Jay-Z started the whole first week sales thing. And it's just like we've never gotten out of that. So it's like every time we drop something, it's like, oh, I got 500 views. I'm popping now. And it's like, for what? It's not getting you any more money. You're not doing more shows because of it. It's just a number. And so you've got to really look at data and analytics are definitely helpful, right? Like they've really improved how we can do marketing, how we can target and segment certain people, but they work interconnected with each other, right? Your number of Facebook followers by itself doesn't mean anything. But if you can say, okay, I've got 10,000 Facebook fans, that has turned into 3,000 visitors on my website. that's turned into 2,000 people on my email list, and that's turned into this much money as a result of the products that I'm offering, then it's like, okay, now this data makes sense to focus on, what's the bottleneck points? What are things that people are doing, or where are people getting hung up on? But just saying, oh, I got Facebook fans for the sake of having them isn't doing anything for anyone.
No, not at all. I mean, anybody who's listening that either has a significant amount of followers or they're not there yet, like, just when you get there, you'll see that those numbers do not matter like you think they are. It'll feel good for a second, or it'll just be nice to know, but you're like, man, there's no money in my pocket. Even if you don't do it from a fake way, if you have 50K followers on Instagram right now and you build them up all legitimately, chances are, like, outside, unless you are doing stuff outside of it where you can really bring those people out, you're like, man, what am I doing with my life? You start to rethink your whole strategy. Like, there was a show that a girl did, homegirl. She put on a show, came out to the boutique. She was like in the back of the boutique, and it had to be like 15 people there. I got there near the end. I was pretty late. And most of those people were the people that came with the artists or the artists that were performing.
Yep.
She thought that she would actually get a good following because she had a host from Instagram, and the Instagram guy had like 170K followers or whatever. Didn't nobody come out for that guy. Like, there's levels to it, and someone can have 1,000 followers and have the influence to bring out more people than someone who has 100,000 followers. Like, it's just real world. You have to think, at the end of the day, IG still has to succumb to real world dynamics. Just like you got somebody at your school, maybe, who is more popular, or this person looks good, but people prefer to hang with that person, or this person throws the best parties and actually can get a good turnout, versus this person, people are scared of, but they don't, or they might do what they say, but it's for completely different reasons. It's all the same as far as different dynamics. If I'm following you on social media, maybe I'm following you because I'm a fan of what you're doing, but maybe I'm just a fan of what you're doing from afar. Like, I might like laughing at your skit, but I don't need to see you in person, right? Or I don't want to listen to your music, or I'm not invested in you as a personality. Like, so that's why people even get engagement messed up. Like, just because I thought something was funny doesn't mean I was invested in the whole brand or the person as a whole. The funniest thing, the interesting example of this is, I don't remember, it was some good-looking girl on Instagram. Like, it was just a viral post that went viral. She was good-looking, and the post that she'd had said, like, thank you to all my fans, blah, 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 right? One of the guys in the comments said, girl, I'm not a fan, I'm a creep. Completely different, right? Like, I'm not here to support you. I'm not your fan like that. I'm just here creeping and looking at you, getting my little stimulation from looking at you, and then going about my business. That's completely different than a fan. So why the person's following you is everything. Intent is everything.
Right. And I think that's why it's so important to put out a consistent brand image. And we were talking about that with last week's guest, Pat Jr. And he and I were just talking about how, your image as a brand, it's more than just your image. I think when we talk about branding, we think of visual elements. Okay, what's my logo look like, and what's my website look like? But it's really like the core of who you are. And so, like when you go to the Apple store, the logo's minimal, all the furniture is very minimal, there's not a lot going on, everything looks clean. And that's not just the look of their stores, that's their design approach to their products. Like, it speaks to everything about them, right? And that's why it's so important for you as an artist to know, okay, who am I and who am I not? Because it becomes very easy to chase trends and chase different things, trying to gain a following. Like you said, she probably, is wearing like little revealing outfits and stuff because she sees the following go up. Then the second she asks them to buy something or download something or whatever, it's like, nah, I'm not here for that.
Exactly. Yep. It's
So,
like,
you
you
got to
got to
be
be
clear
clear
about it.
about
I'm
it.
sorry, go ahead.
You said something that was key. I just don't want people to miss that. Like, the brand is not only what you do, but it's what you don't do.
Mm-hmm.
That's everything. People don't pay attention to the don't do part. Like, you stay in a pocket. Like, that's what people say when they say they're staying in their lane, and they say they're successful because they stay in their lane, don't try to play other people's game. That it resonates strongly, and it shows that you know your brand well when you understand it's also what you don't do. Because whatever your brand, it literally informs every single thing that you do. And in the same way you just said, whatever your website looks like, however you communicate, if you're in an interview, whatever that is,
Right. Yeah, man. The brand is so important. It's so important to, especially as with the rise of independent artists. I think we're seeing that every artist is different. Everybody has something different to offer. And it's not necessarily paying as well to just try to imitate what you hear on the radio. I mean, we talk about SoundCloud rappers, right? Because we can easily lump them together. They all rap on the same beats. They all got auto-tune. They all got tats on their face. Like, they look the same. But I can't distinguish, and not to talk down on anybody, but I wouldn't know a Little Peep song from a Little Pump song from a Smoke Perp song or whoever it is, which to someone else may not know, all these different boom bap artists from each other. But that's why it's important for you to distinguish yourself outside of just your sound. Each artist had like 6ix9ine. I don't know a lot of trap music, but I know who 6ix9ine is. He's got the hair. He's him, right? I know Gucci Mane. Gucci Mane is Gucci Mane, right? Like, everybody's got things about themselves that let you know who they are, right? Whether you hear that Maybach music tag and Rick Ross is about to come through on a song, like, whatever it is, there are some things that we just do consistently. And there are things that we, like you said, we don't do, and it's so important to have that, because that's how you're going to establish your lane. That's how someone's going to know you from Kendrick Lamar or little such and such down the street, because you have something that they don't have to offer because you decided to be yourself.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah, man. Well, I definitely appreciate this conversation, and you just taking the time to speak with our audience about branding and tips that you have for marketing yourself. I want them to be able to find you and be able to communicate with you, but I also want to know, what kind of things you've got coming up for artists as well.
So you can hit me up on @Brandman Sean. That's BrandManSean. That's Brandman Sean on YouTube, Twitter, IG, email @brandmansean.com. Brandmansean@gmail.com. As far as things I have coming up currently, I'm not actually doing anything new currently as far as any kind of events or things like that, but I have my Master Music Networking Guide. Anybody who is really looking to go deep on understanding what networking looks like and how you transfer online relationships to real mentorships, real offline relationships, that guide has already helped quite a few people. You can check out some of that information at mastermusicnetworking.com. Came up with that in the same way you said that you talk to enough people and realize where people need help, and I wrote that up. So definitely check that up. It's a super helpful guide, and I also have videos on networking as well. It's a book and like hours long worth of videos throughout the book. So
Okay.
check that out as well.
Dope, dope. Well, I will definitely link to that in our show notes. Is there any parting advice you want to give to any aspiring artists or YouTubers out there?
Yeah, the only advice I have, man, is just take action. Don't get caught in your own head by not releasing things or making these decisions. Like run as fast as you can in one direction. If you find out that it's wrong, then change direction and run as fast as you can in the other direction. A lot of times, I know too many artists that spend too much time in action, and the next thing you know, I mean, that time is up.
Right. Yeah, man, you definitely got to go for it. Well, look, Sean, again, I appreciate you taking the time to speak with us. I appreciate you agreeing to the interview because you didn't have to do that. And I look forward to seeing what you've got coming up. I'm staying tuned to your channel like everyone else is. And again, I appreciate your time.
For sure, man. I appreciate you, Brandon. Have a good one.
You too, man. And that's going to wrap up today's podcast. I am super thankful to Brandman Sean for speaking with us. I can talk about marketing and branding all day long, but I'm just super glad that we were able to give you guys insights and, just some more information so that you're not shooting in the dark and that you really are able to get some strategy behind what you're doing so that you can start to see real results and real progress. So if you guys still want to stay connected, please, again, subscribe to the podcast, follow us on all social media. Of course, I'll link to all of Brandman's information in the show notes as well. I'd love to hear from you. Now, if you want to go deeper into the music marketing process, then you can buy the Music Marketing Guidebook. I went super in depth. It's over 60 pages, just a really kind of a crash course introduction to marketing. Is what's going to help get you from 0 fans to, starting to make that recurring revenue and having a real engaged fan base that's waiting for your music to come out and waiting to pay you for it, of course. So I'll leave the link to that in the show notes as well. And until next time, keep dreaming, make reality.